Every single year, communities around the world mark Neurodivergency Celebration Week, and that is a week set aside to recognize and celebrate the neurodiverse community. And this includes individuals who have autism, those who have ADHD, those who have dyslexia, those who have Tourette syndrome, and many others on the spectrum, and other neurological differences. So this week, it aims to raise awareness about neurodiversity, promoting understanding and acceptance, while also challenging stereotypes and misconceptions. So if you are a parent or a caregiver to a child who might fall in any of the categories I've mentioned, this show is for you. Hello and welcome back to Reality Check. Every single year, communities around the world mark Neurodivergency Celebration Week, and that is a week set aside to recognize and celebrate the neurodiverse community. And this includes individuals who have autism, those who have ADHD, those who have dyslexia, those who have Tourette syndrome, and many others on the spectrum, and other neurological differences. So this week, it aims to raise awareness about neurodiversity, promoting understanding and acceptance, while also challenging stereotypes and misconceptions. So if you are a parent or a caregiver to a child who might fall in any of the categories I've mentioned, this show is for you. Welcome aboard, and thank you for joining us. And joining me to have this conversation are two amazing warrior women. I'm going to call them warrior women. Who are both advocates in the neurodivergent space, and they are also both mothers of children who are on the spectrum. I'll let them, of course, share a bit of their story. So welcome to the show, and yeah, give it a thumbs up and let us know in the comments what you're looking forward to hearing. So on my left is Jennifer Malé.
Yes.
Yes, Jennifer is, you're an advocate for neurodivergence.
Yeah.
And also a mother. And
a
you're a doctor as well.
Are you a practitioner?
Medical practitioner?
No, it's clinical psychologist.
Ah, clinical psychologist, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then to my right is Patricia Ogule, who I have seen before and met before. She's also a mom and also a co-founder for Autism Awareness Association, Uganda. Mm-hmm. All right, so they are going to be having this conversation with me. And I thought it would be nice to start from an experience point of view, because you're both moms to children who are on the spectrum. I think I want both of you to kind of talk about what it was like when you found out that your child could be on the spectrum, and if you're at liberty to say what exactly the challenge is, and how you kind of went through the diagnosis process, the feelings that you were feeling, you know. The different stages, whether you were in denial, whether you were angry, when you came to accept. Yeah, so real quick, we'll start with you, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you. My son, he's now 17. When he was born, he was a perfectly beautiful, the most beautiful child that you can ever find. He was healthy, all milestones were on point. Until when we had a speech delay. He wasn't talking, and then we noticed he was very hyperactive and he wanted specific things, like there was a routine, things had to be done. But we didn't know, we're first-time parents, young parents. And I remember the first daycare we went to, they kept telling me, oh, but he's not talking as much as other children are talking. I didn't mind. I was like, I didn't know anything anyway. Even being medical, you know, these are not things that are very obvious. So I think it was, we switched schools because we had switched to a certain place, and we had to find another school, and the school was more crowded than the first school, the first daycare. So he used to scream a lot because I think he was stimulated. We had sensory sensitivity to so many people and sounds and and they didn't know what to do with him. So they called me in for a conference, and they're like, we are very sorry to tell you, we think this child is abnormal. Yeah, it was something like, yeah, we think the child is abnormal. We think he's, in fact, I remember the words of the person. She told me there's a school for children that have cerebral palsy somewhere in Jesus. So, because I was living within that area, she's like, no, this is not a child we can keep here. Go to that school. So I visited the school, and my child was not disabled. My child was healthy, and these children were having other conditions. So I remember, because I was then working in a health facility, I talked to a pediatrician friend of mine. When he saw the child, he tells me, this doesn't look like a classic picture of autism, like what I know. And that was like 2011, 2012. And then they told me of a certain clinical psychologist somewhere in Bukoto. And she told me what she needed to do, and it costed an arm and a leg.
Yes.
It was so expensive in dollars.
Oh.
In dollars.
Oh dear.
I don't know, it was a lot of money. So I was like, okay, so what do I do? And I went through that phase of what could be wrong with a child. I remember searching for information, and looking for potential people that could help. One of the things that has really helped me to date is talking about it. I think what helped me to get out of my denial is that in my search and quest for knowledge, I was getting my answers, and people were talking to me, and then I met other people. And when he was about 5, I met somebody, Marigold's, the school. The lady also has, the owner of the school, happens to have a child who's on the spectrum, and that was a game changer. So she knew a lot. She knew a speech therapist. There was a British lady, and that is how I got my son to talk. We did speech therapy. She knew a lot because she had been through a lot. So I was able to tap into her resources. Oh, I know this occupational therapist. I also know this teacher. I know this, I know that. And of course, in the search for information, I came across Temper Grandin, the famous autistic professor in the US. So I actually looked for her movie, and we watched it together with my husband. From a non-verbal autistic person to a celebrated professor. So I got courage. And also my faith, I was like, God, I need help. I need to know it's not by accident that I have this child. So whatever you need me to do about the situation, you show me. And also the spirituality helped a lot in terms of finding purpose in what you call a very desperate situation. So I had a lot of knowledge on autism that in that hospital, IHK, where I worked, every time pediatricians came across children, they would call me up. They said, okay, please come and speak to these parents. They look like their child is. So I kind of got into the whole field, and it was good. And I said, okay, if my trouble helps another person, then to God be the glory. So we were stable between 6 to 12. We had some dietary changes. Yeah, because diet is very important when you're managing. Actually, I would say 90% of the treatment is dietary. To date, we still have a very strict diet as far as it's concerned. So hyperactivity disappeared. We got people that would come in and help, because I talk a lot about it. I usually find somebody who knows somebody. Yeah, and we've been able to, we're now 17. We are in a very good place where we have identified our gifts. It's been a journey, especially when we came into adolescence. There was another set of challenges that came in. We had some convulsions come in because of the changes in the body, but those have been managed. And also with knowledge, I was also able to enter into the profession. Nowadays, if you need like an assessment, you don't need to pay an arm and a leg. It is subsidized. If you come to see me about autism, it is subsidized. It's not in dollars. Sometimes I do it even for free because I know what it means. I remember walking from Bugolovi thinking about the so many dollars that I had to pay, which I didn't have then. So we have been able to do programs that are good for the person, and we're having a functional, good human being in the home, but it's been a journey of faith.
I love that. I think that raising a child is tough.
Very tough.
But raising a child on the spectrum kind of takes it to a whole other level.
Yeah.
And I love that in our day and age today, we have people who, as courageous as you are, and you, Patricia, I know you're going to share, can come out and say, this has been my journey, and whoever is watching and is scared, is in denial, is angry, can actually walk the journey and have a healthy child. I know I said that every year we celebrate the Neurodivergence Week. I don't think I said when. It's the last week of March. I'm so sorry. That's why we're having this conversation. So this very week that we're in is Neurodivergence Celebration Week. And so if you know someone who is in this space, I think they would use pick me up, encourage them, maybe even share this episode with them, because there's a lot of information that we're going to share here that will be helpful. So, Patricia, I've heard a little bit about your story, but this was years ago. I was so shocked to hear that your son is becoming a teenager. I was like, my goodness, time flies.
Time flies.
Yes, time flies. So tell us your journey. What has it been like?
Very, very similar to yours.
Yeah.
I even got emotional listening to her story because it was such a mirror. So I won't spend too much on certain details. I was 23,
similar to
newly married, had first child. So I didn't really have anything to reference. I don't know what it is about some families, because I don't think everybody is like that, but we were such a nuclear situation. So we didn't have a lot of exposure to community and other people, not because they were not available to us, it was just the way things were at the time. So at about a year and maybe 8 months, I had been studying the bar, and my son needed to stop breastfeeding because, as you can imagine, if I was studying the bar and he was still breastfeeding, things were really too much. So anyhow, and I think I shared this with you, so that was the first time he actually was separate from me. And that was the only way we found out that there was something that was a bit amiss, because he went and spent time with family, and they highlighted several things that they saw were not
different.
That were different. They were not the same as other children. And even still, there were no bells ringing in my head, because I was like, okay, so maybe he's just different. And then there was also the good old advice of he's a boy, he just takes longer. So we took him to play group, and hoping that maybe exposure to other kids would help him speak. He was nonverbal, I must say. He was nonverbal. And he also used to live life in a pattern. He had a routine that he had created for himself. And then he used to play in ways that were a little bit different from others, because now I understand that he had sensory needs that he was trying to stimulate, or whatever the case may be. Anyhow, so he had repetitive behavior, and he was different. So when we take him to play group, the school sends us a speech therapist to help us with the speech. So we're like, okay, fine, that's okay, help us with the speech. I didn't know anything about autism. So I wasn't thinking, just because we need a speech therapist, that means he has autism, or there's another issue that might be present. It's when the speech therapist had a session with him, and then she asked to speak with us. And okay, so at this time, everybody has been saying he's different, he's different, he's different. Of course, I've Googled a few things. I've Googled why does he not respond to his name? Why is he not responding to anything the rest of us are doing? Why is he like, the funny thing with Google that people don't mention enough is that you literally just pour your heart out and then it figures out what you're trying to say. So it's not like I had a coherent way I was actually asking.
Yes.
And I wasn't keen on asking professionals or other people because I didn't want to hear any bad news in case there was any. I was really protecting myself. And so later I would learn after visiting several professionals, because I hope you know I rejected a speech therapist. Oh dear. I rejected her jazz. I moved on, I found. But then at this point I knew that, okay, maybe he's neurodivergent. So I took him to another establishment where he was assessed, and they told me indeed that he had autism, and I didn't like it, and I was confused, and I was like, okay, so what does this mean? Does this mean he doesn't go to school with other people, like other kids his age? Where do I take him? And just like you said, the facility where he was assessed at that time had other children that presented their difference physically. Yeah. So it felt like this is not where my son should be, because he had no physical disability. Yeah, he had no physical disabilities. So I was like, well, there's something that's just not working here. And eventually, I actually moved him out of the facility because he started to mirror that behavior. And because like any child, what you see is what you do. So anyway, of course, at this point, I'm learning a lot. I'm reading a bit, but I'm also dealing with myself because I'm really sad. I'm really sad. I'm scared of having more children at this point because I'm like, what is this? Like, and then I go into the whole why me situation. Like, we went into a very dark time in life, and I mean, God is really kind because the fact that my son was able to move forward in life, like progress in life. While I was in that state, it just really, if you don't believe God is real, I don't know. So because he really held me through that time, and I think I lost. Of course, now I say I lost time, but I don't say it in an unkind way. I lost time in terms of dealing with the issue by trying to run around it or walk around it. So I saw several. I thought he had tongue tie because when you start to talk about this, everybody gives you their opinions and stuff. We're not very good at dealing with stuff that we don't know. So we take him to a random clinic in a random place. They don't have a full background of his history or anything. Okay, let's cut it. I hope you know they cut it. Yeah.
Did they cut
I
anything?
didn't go.
Patricia?
I did not go. He went with the
Did they cut anything?
They cut what?
I don't know what they cut.
But they cut something.
Maybe that's why he sings so well. I don't know. Because I don't think he had tongue tie. Well, now I don't think he had tongue tie. And the reason I share this is because I think we need to embrace parents who also make mistakes along the way. Because in this journey, especially when we haven't yet gotten to a level as a country where there's a clear guidance on how to deal with
you move
your
all
child.
around. You're in
You're self-help, right? So this is how self-help, and I think I'm actually glad that that's the worst that happened to him. Like it didn't go further. I didn't, decide to do.
His ears.
Thank you.
The definite
right?
thing,
No, but I hope you know we're going for that
I'm
test.
sure you did. I'm sure you did.
For the hearing test because he's not even hearing.
Yes. Did you do hearing?
No, I didn't do hearing.
And now if he's not responding to his
maybe
name,
he's deaf.
maybe he has a hearing problem. So we get there and they do the test and they're like, friends, your child is fine. And they were so kind. They also said, we think maybe it might be a neuro. I said, when you start saying neuro,
I don't want to hear.
I'm out the door, I run away from them as well. I actually don't know who I didn't see. At this point, it's more like you tell me and I tell you if I didn't see that person, pediatrician, hearing people. But the one person I didn't see was a child psychologist.
Yeah.
And at that point, if you're telling yourself that truth, it's because you know that they're probably going to tell you something that you won't want to hear. And it's been a long journey.
It's been a
long journey. He went to, I don't know how many schools by the time he was 5. He had international, national, up country, down country, mid city, where
looking for a solution.
He had gone to all sorts of schools. And at that point, it was because I was looking for tolerance. I was looking for acceptance. I wasn't really keen on the whole, I was really at everybody's mercy. It's like, can you just take him?
Can you just be with him?
Let him have a school experience. It wasn't a thing of, are you actually skilled?
And sometimes when you find that place where there's a bit of tolerance, then you become comfortable, but it's not helping the child.
No.
It's not helping the child. So I think when you talk about mistakes, at a certain point, that is one of my biggest mistakes I made.
As well.
School hopping was there. Because at one point this side of Chisas, I had marigolds, but now when we built and we moved to Entebbe Road, it was it was about Como School, but it was so far, that side of Nachiwogo, and now I had to look for systems that could help. So there was a particular school, and I thank God, by the way, that school, also the owner has a child, so she was tolerant too, but sometimes the tolerance doesn't help you at a certain level because you want him to move. So I understand you very well when you talk about that. Yeah.
And I think if I could encourage a parent, it would be that even as your child progresses, continue to assess them or get them assessed so that you're able to know what their needs are as they move forward. Because what happened was, when you get to a comfortable situation where you're like, now
he's going to school at least. He's putting
but then he's probably not, and sometimes it's not even the fault of the school, but you as a parent, you need to understand that when your child is different, you're their biggest champion. So you know better than anybody else if something needs to switch up. So they could be in a good, comfortable environment socially, but they're not learning. Or they could be learning, but socially it's just difficult. And you need to be able to, these days I actually say it's fine that he has hopped from place to place. It's totally fine. Yes.
Okay, you're both parents who have walked a journey. I think that's clear. There might be a mom who is watching and maybe she's just discovered, or maybe she's in that, I'm chasing away every neurodivergent conversation. She's in denial. What would you say is the first step? What does a parent do when they suspect that their child might be neurodivergent?
I think the first thing is to seek for assistance. Talk to your pediatrician, because now most people, the cases are many. If you're a pediatrician, you've seen one, the pediatrician will know where to send the child to. Because now we have different layers. We have, we sometimes do pediatrician, then pediatric neurologists who will send now to the psychologists. But please have the child assessed, at least have a diagnosis. Because the one thing that I want you to pick from this conversation is early diagnosis leads to early interventions. And with early interventions, we have better outcomes. Or is the magical route is early diagnosis, early interventions, better outcomes. Because when you're in the system, you now get to figure out, if you know the diagnosis, yes, you might be sad a bit that, he's neurodivergent. And the thing about it, neurodivergence is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So so for me, one of the things that has really helped me to come out of the dark zones is appreciating what is good about it. And when I made a lot of research, I discovered most of the researchers, most of the people that we celebrate are on the spectrum. Even the richest person right now in the world is on the spectrum. So if you're able to get the genius in this child and know what are they good at, can I just walk that journey and focus on that? And then I see how to work on the weaknesses, but let me look at the strength. What are the strengths? What are the challenges? Speech can be sorted, speech therapy. My career, we are happy that now they have even a
really
full
good
department on speech pathology and what. You can get speech therapy. If it is occupational therapy, you do that. And then some of the things you can even do from home. I remember when my son was going through speech therapy, she gave me a book and she told me, this is what you follow. I'm with a child for 1 hour, but with a child always. So we had to continue. Yeah, because this boy had designed life in a way that we were, actually first we were excited that he used to make his own tea when he was 3 years. You know, he's doing his things, he's sorting him, but he's designing a world of locking out everybody. He knew he could make his bed, he could do this. You're like, this child is very independent. Meanwhile, you're dealing with something. So the speech therapist is like, no, make life hard, where he has to ask, can I have tea? Can I have sugar? Can I have this? Can I? You get it? So the first therapist is the parent. So the sooner you get out of the denial, the better for everybody. But the root is early diagnosis, early interventions, better outcomes.
And
always.
I want to double down on that question because some people notice at, say, 1.5 years.
Yeah.
I want you to break it down because parents think in terms of years.
Yeah.
Early diagnosis for me might be at 6 years.
Yeah.
But most times.
Yes, so let's look at the things that are the signs that you need to look out for. If a child has limited eye contact, you're calling this child, and it's as if they are deaf. You know, they're in a corner somewhere, they are moving in repetitive circles, they are head banging. Those are all things that you need to look at. They're not interested in other children. They love one particular toy. They have a routine. They must go to bed at a specific time in a specific place. You know, those are things that you need to look out for. If they're not socializing at all, if they have sensory overload, you go to a supermarket and the child is screaming and they can't get themselves up together, they are fidgeting with that's why they move their fingers. Yeah, they have certain movements with the fingers that you think are abnormal, are not normal. You take the child to the pediatrician. Like, I've seen symptom 1, when I call the child, they're not responding to their name. I try to look at them in the eye, they are looking down. The child is always in a corner, they're not interested in other people. The child is screaming, the child is overactive, hyperactive. They are jumping as if there's something wrong with the child. Please, can I know? Yeah, because we need to be on the lookout for some of those signs.
Yes. So your first source of help is your pediatrician.
Yeah, pediatrician.
Who can then direct you to more specialized help.
Yeah.
Okay. Patricia, I want you to say something about therapy. Because many people actually, without even getting diagnosis, will say, I've heard that you've used these therapists, like, so they want to skip the diagnosis because they've noticed their differences. Let me work with a therapist. How do you get to the point of working with a therapist? But I also know that the therapists that we have in our country today, I think I was mentioning to you that either are few, so they are spread thin. So somebody comes to you, they're with your child for an hour, and then there's the cost. So it becomes difficult for many parents to afford therapy. But talk about the role of therapy in dealing with neurodivergence, and then what the situation is like in Uganda at the moment.
That's a heavy one. It is. So the reason, first of all, thank you so much, Jennifer. What you said is really important because it's a good place to start. You don't want to, you can't figure something out until you know what it is. How do I explain it? You can't treat what you don't know. That's it. You can't treat what you don't know. So if you run into therapy or if you just jump into it, what are you doing? Like, what are you actually treating? Because there's scenarios where you have a child who's non-verbal, but it's not that they are non-verbal.
Exactly.
They've chosen to not say anything because of traumas or things like that. And that's what the medical practitioners are helpful with, and psychologists, because they can help you separate whether your child has a neurodivergence or they have a trauma. And it's possible for a child to actually have suffered a trauma, and that's why they've withheld their speech, or it's withheld, not them. So when you know what you're dealing with, then you progress to a therapist. There's different types of therapy, but she'll speak more to that. I'll speak on my own behalf. In my experience, basically, my son was nonverbal for his first 5 years. Of those 5 years, he was seeing a speech therapist for about 3. So therapy is not something that's going to give you results tomorrow. No, when he was 3 years old, from 3 years old to 5 years old, we were doing speech therapy, and there were no results. Exactly. Things were happening
inside the brain,
as we were not seeing anything.
And paying a lot of money.
I'm sure you've seen that meme where there's a guy who's like hitting a rope and then he gives up when he has like 1 inch to get to diamonds. That's literally what happened with us with therapy. So therapy is something that you have to be patient with. But also what I've learned with therapists in Uganda, I don't know, I think I'm answering the question in reverse, but it's okay. So therapists in Uganda are like other practitioners in Uganda. Don't think that because someone says they're a speech therapist, they're your savior and they're going to immediately bring that speech to your child. Be informed and also be proactive. Like she said, the best therapist is the parent. So there should be expectations. There should be goals. There should be a level of accountability. Because sometimes what would happen, and I'm guilty of this, I would just hand the child over to the therapist with this thing of, you're going to bring him back sorted.
You sort my child
and then just walk away. So sometimes it wasn't the fault of the therapist. It was just that I checked out and I was thinking that would solve things. But you have to work with your therapist. Just like she said, the therapist will come in for 1 hour and you're with them for the other 23. So you have to work together for this thing to actually give you the results that you're looking for. Also, it's possible that a child who's nonverbal can have therapy and not have fully developed speech, but it's still helpful because they also train them with that picture thing, I don't know what it's called, like other alternative ways of communicating, which is important. So you shouldn't just like linger on the whole thing of I only want speech. I just want the child to talk. It's more important that the child is able to communicate. So it depends. So that's in terms of like managing your expectations on what the results will be. But from what I have seen, at least so far, most of the children that are going through speech therapy end up speaking. They end up speaking. So that aside, the good thing with speech therapy, all therapies, is that now there's more awareness, and also you know how Ugandans are. We like to go where the demand is. So now people have also started to study a lot in those fields, and the therapists have increased. So glory be to God. So we have a lot more. Because there was a time when, and I'm sure you can attest to this. There was a time when therapists were not very many. You'd go to Makere, you'd go to Mulago or Makere, and you would get a reference to like maybe 5 therapists
and
or 3,
busy.
and they're all busy and not able to see you. But now the number has grown, and they also have an association.
They share experiences.
It's
been very good.
And it has also helped to upskill them. Like they know what they're doing. It's not like before when they were just overwhelmed and So it's good that we have progressed as a society, as a country. We have progressed. We have way more special, and because they are more, it's also a lot more affordable. Because and you can't blame the therapist of that time if the demand is very high and you have only so many hours in that day. You might as well up your your fee, and because it's their income as well. But now that we have more, it's also helped to bring down that
There's that
cost.
thing she talked about of parents wanting a quick fix.
Yeah.
So the one thing that you need to know about having a neurodivergent child is that it's a journey. It's a journey. Even when you're enrolling in for speech therapy, OT, or school, you know that I'm on a marathon, you know, I'm going to find some ups, some downs. So this is how I handle myself. So do not expect that when you take a child, 2 sessions, they're talking, they're now, no, it takes a bit of time. Because you can see Patricia did from 2 years of speech therapy, and you're
zero. But to be fair, in those 2 years, I think it's the 5th year where I engaged with the therapist. Nothing. I was just giving. I was like, "Did you stay for long? Did you stay for the entire hour? Okay, fine." And of course, I would play with my son and things like that, but I wasn't fully engaged with that. I took a while to grow up in that scenario. I use the word grow up because that's what it felt like. Sometimes in life, you really just have to make that decision to deal with your issue. That's it.
Yeah, taking ownership.
It wasn't as easy for me to do that. And it was up until that point that results started to come. So I think it's actually more important to deal with yourself
first
and deal with all these ideas of what you wanted your child to be,
the expectations,
your expectations. Like, deal with yourself, let it go, and then face this giant in the face, because it feels like that sometimes. You know, you're like, I don't thank you. Like, what am I dealing with?
And sometimes you're like,
I
I wish. There's a parent who said, I wish this child was normal. That means that I wouldn't have to spend all these millions in an international school and all of that. But if that is what the child needs and that is what will help, the thing is to adjust and know how to play your
Like, I know for a fact, one of the reasons why my faith is one of the things I speak on alongside this journey is because I know that the mother that I was intending to be was the one who you've eaten. You have everything is fine. I love you. Okay, let's move. I did not fully comprehend how intentional parenting is. And I've learned through my experience with Harvey that parenting, even when it's not a child with special needs, it's a very intentional thing. You have a human being that you're literally stewarding. And tomorrow God will ask, and you need to account for yourself. We pray for children. We think children are obvious in marriage. You know, when you get married and you're like, then we'll have children. Then I want to have kids by the time I am this age. There's a certain way we can be flippant sometimes with motherhood and stuff like that. But it's actually a very serious thing, and it's a very, it's a very, very serious calling. And I think that having Harvey made me also realize it sobered me up. I understood that, much as he's, special needs, and he needed, he's different, and he needed extra work, extra attention. It was expensive. I also needed to let go of that ease that I thought I was going to have, and embrace the difficulty that came with whatever was happening. And sometimes it actually happens. And this is me consoling myself as well as other parents with children that are neurodivergent. Parenting is so tricky that you might have a child who's neurotypical and has other challenges. Discipline, even learning and stuff like that. You might have other challenges. So the thing is not so much about why me, was I chosen, was I picked on in particular to have this difficulty and challenge in my life, and what? No, everybody does. Everybody has difficulty, everybody has challenge, and it does not help to sit and sulk and just, why me and all of that. Just get on with it and remove yourself from the situation. I believe as parents, sometimes we project a lot onto our children. You want people to say your child is smart and your child is amazing and your child can move mountains, and because you feel like it's you they are telling. But this is a separate person who has a different journey of life ahead of them, and all you're doing is stewarding that path. So in that process, when you remove that
identity
from the child, then you allow them to fully, because ultimately when all of this was happening in my life and I was going through all of those changes and acceptance and all of that, he was still the same. He was fine. He was a completely innocent, wonderful child that was just waiting for whatever I would present, because ultimately he's a child. So if I was going to give him Mother Dearest who doesn't care, that's what he would have gotten. And if I was going to give him Mother Dearest who is intentional and taking the steps that are necessary, that is what he would get. So that was a decision I had to make, and it had absolutely nothing to do with him.
It's so eye-opening when you put it that way, especially on the aspect of intentional parenting, that I think sometimes God allows certain situations to sober you up. And I bet you're probably more intentional with your kids, other children now. You probably wouldn't have been had you not had the experience with Harvey. I want us to talk about, and Jennifer, I will direct this question to you. What resources are available? Because obviously in the developed world, they are well taken care of, so to speak. I want you to talk about that, but I also want you to talk about the education journey. You mentioned something about focusing on his skills and what he's good at. And I know that both of you have school hopped. You went to this daycare, you went to the other school, until you kind of zeroed in on, okay, this is the education path for my child. It's not going to look like a neurotypical child's education. So talk about education and maybe what parents need to do in order to pick the right education path for their child.
Let me talk about resources. Resources in terms of structure as a country, we have not yet, we are still doing work. I'm glad that you have that autism association. We will be able to now push through the association for certain things that need to be done from the level of infancy to parenting to adolescence, because you see all those layers. The other thing I want to talk about with autism is that you can have 1,000 autistic people and they all have different needs. They're all different. They're all different. Now that is how peculiar autism is. Even abroad, it is still a problem because they're all different. Because if you're talking about neurodivergent means that your brain is processing things differently. It is interpreting them differently. It is also engaging with the environment in a very different way. So that means I could be having sensory, visual hypersensitivity. Another one could be having auditory. Another one could be having tactile, sensory challenges. So some don't want to be touched, others want to be touched. So you can't, with autism, you can't have like a cookie cutter and say, oh, they're all autistic, or this is where they're all different. So as a country, we've not done, we are still building, and as I talk right now, resources you have to find for yourself. I told you my journey. I talked a lot about it. Every time I sat somewhere, I would talk about it, and somebody knew somebody. So that is how I got into the resources. They're scattered all over. So one of the things I do as a therapist or as a clinical psychologist when people come to me is to connect them to the people that I know, help. But then also, because somebody's still into that, I don't want to hear neurodivergent, might even reject. Like you could tell a parent, their parents have been referred to, and they've come to me and I've told them, you know what, these are the pitfalls. Pitfalls are going to be in form of nutritional denial for you. So parents also need therapy.
Oh yes,
because there's burnout that comes.
Oh yes.
Some of us, if you look at the spacing of our children, it was My firstborn is 17, my next born is 12. And then I have a 4-year-old, because you see there's this trauma. This child, when having, it's not like trauma, but in terms of the resources that you need, one autistic child equals to 3 children. So somebody will be like, oh, Jennifer, I don't want to give birth, but you don't know. I have a child whose school fees is 4 times what you have to pay for this one child. So there's that burnout that comes, parenting burnout. And one thing I see with parents that have neurodivergent children is that they can focus on the neurodivergent and forget about the neuro, and then that is going to bring tension in the family system. I had such a case, my child, and I'm a person who is knowledgeable, so I have a very healthy child, and I have another who is a picky eater, and then I have this one who is on special yogurts and what. So every time I go to the supermarket, I would pick maybe the Greek yogurt for this one, the probiotic yogurt for the autistic one, because we have to sort out the gut. Then I have one who is a picky eater. I'm like, okay, let me pick another extra yogurt. Then who is normal, I'll take another snack. So one time she tells me, hey, but mommy, you give yogurts to everybody. Why do you bring me? And I remembered all the things I do in therapy with other people. I said, oh, I'm sorry. So now I take yogurts for everybody, and they will sort themselves out, who takes what and who doesn't. So the intentional parenting, when you have a neurodivergent child as part of the family system, is that sometimes the parents become hyper-focused on the one child and they forget others. And it brings resentment, it brings a parental neglect for the others. So we need to merge the entire system, orient ourselves that this is how we move. We move as a team. And then also sometimes these other children that are neurotypical get into parentification. So parentification is where somebody is taking on roles they're not supposed to be taking. You find that the one who is neurotypical, because they see this one is taken care of, when you go, say, for instance, at church, they become very protective. They become the mother. Instead of being like any ordinary child attending Sunday school, they're like, oh, I will sit with my brother and I'll be the caretaker now, caretaking. And in a way, it is passing on trauma. So the resources have to be psychological assistance for families, even for parents, going through the different stages, because the child is going to be different at a different stage. As an infant, they have a lot of issues because they're trying to learn the environment, adapt as human beings. They stabilize a bit between 6 to 12. 11, they begin to pick up with the adolescence changes, hormonal changes. You have another set of challenges. As adults,
good God.
So that the thing is that those are all the systemic changes that we need to be addressing. If they become adults, do we have employment policies that are at a policy level, national policy level, like the UK? They know that they are very good with repetitive work. They are good with data analysis. They are good as stewards in supermarkets. There's a supermarket in the UK that hired a boy who was autistic. He made sure that the tins were always 10 cartons, 10. He made sure that they were organized, everything was okay, and he's the best employee in that supermarket. So do we have such systems where employers have a slot, one slot for a neurodivergent person? I know that Uganda has the Disability Act 2019 that talks about acceptance and diversity and all these things, but we need to take it a little more, because you see ours, the neurodivergents, are different, but they're also very gifted. They are very dedicated to their craft. If you find them good at something, they have superhuman abilities in that. So as a country, the resources have to be on those levels. And again, education is also a resource. Children love to go to school. School gives them a lot of things. School helps them with their esteem, helps with identity. I go to this school. If you're not going to school, these are my friends. So you need to also, but sometimes because of that, now we want everybody in a certain school. But our neurodivergence might benefit in a different setup. Because, I mean, neurodivergence has ADHD, autism, dyslexia, Tourette syndrome. So, for instance, like somebody that has, working with children that have ADHD, we have to come up with a work schedule because they have issues with concentration. These are children that are talking very well, but they don't have, their concentration span is so low. They get burnout a lot. They get into depression because, you know, neurodivergence also get into other comorbidities of mental health, like depression, anxiety, panic attacks, because of how the environment receives them. So you need to have a school that is going to understand the child. Like the child has to have breaks. If they need to go to the basketball court in the middle of, you know, can they do that? You know, if they need to go out and wash their face. Because I had one child on the spectrum in a normal school. So I told him, when you feel like this, ask the teacher to let you go out, do your breathing exercises, wash your face, and then return. So the first one teacher accepted, and it's been working well. The other teacher said, no, in my class, you know, because you know, when we have that challenge. So we need reorientation.
That's it.
Of the education system, because this neurodivergence is not going away. The cases are only increasing. So the sooner we educate ourselves, the better. In hospital, if a person is neurodivergent and they appear to you as a doctor, how do you engage with them? Maybe they have hypersensitivity to tactile, you know, stimulation, and you're there doing cannulation and what? They're going to scream. They're going to be out of order, out of control. Do you have a sublingual treatment? Because you find that treatment has maybe a rectal, and you don't have to give the injection. So we need to do the orientation in all sectors, workplaces, hospitals, schools, and also homes and communities. You know, if the community is ostracizing my child because they are neurodivergent, they've gone to the swimming pool and they're behaving and they're very excited because they've seen water, and like,
you know, we have a case in court about that. We have a parent who has a court case when she went to one of those water parks, and there was a clear discrimination against her child. Like literally, an attendant went and said to her, please, can you move your child out of the pool? Because, you know, and it's a societal thing. Even while we are tasking establishments and schools and workplaces to have this awareness and to equip their workers and stuff. Even the society itself, like we have some very unkind members of society, because after investigating, it was made, you know, it was brought to light that some other parents who had come with their own children and stuff, they treat, you know, the parents who treat neurodivergence, especially that which crosses into the physical disabilities, and they start to think that their child, it's like contagious or something of that sort. And like, no, we don't want our child around that one. So I tell that child to leave the water. It's a
so they don't want to lose the clients.
So no, the gentleman, I think he was a manager or somebody, actually approached the mother of this child and said, my dear, you know, the masses. So
he missed an opportunity to educate.
That's it. It was actually a short period of time that would have been dealt with in a completely different way, but instead they chose to, you know, make this mother feel.
And that's why awareness becomes very, very important.
It's so important.
And teaching people all these things, because you see, you might be saying, Avi or Christian, get out of here, but you have 10 Avis in your house.
That is it.
And you don't know. So the thing is, we also need to create spaces, and thank you for this. I know that we'll be able to pick one or two things out of, we need to be able to know. The countries that we're admiring are countries where people have been intentional about teaching themselves.
Been so intentional.
And you're not like saying this child is bewitched these people are cursed. No, it is a different. It's a different brain. This brain has evolved in a very different way, and it is processing differently, and that's why you're seeing this person behaving
that way,
in a very different way.
And I think you should also loop in that church in that conversation.
So the church is about the over spiritualizing of things. I happen to be volunteering in churches. I am a pastor's child, and one of the things, I lost my mom in a church setting, and when I looked at the situation, I said, let me go to the churches and volunteer some days. But my most complex cases are in churches. Why? Because people mask their pain with hyper spirituality. In fact, they're not even spiritual. This is just a cover up. Everything is spiritual, everything, let us pray. So in most cases, when you're doing psychotherapy for them, you tell them, let's first put the spiritual there and look at your childhood. You had childhood trauma. You went through physical abuse. You went through emotional abuse. You went through all these things, and this is how you are seeing the world, because you're putting on a certain lens, a lens of trauma. And if my specs, I'm putting on a lens of trauma, everything I'm going to see it in a lens of trauma.
And another thing as Christians or people who believe in God need to understand is that when you're praying to God, He also sends answers in the form of this conversation. In the form of your intervention.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be alert to other things. You don't want to be the gentleman who drowned because he was waiting for God to literally come and yank him out.
In fact, I remember one pastor saying that there are cases they had dealt with over years. They had prayed all sorts of deliverance prayers. And this was a trauma case. So we start to do therapy. And the person, people, they just come out and they're fine. In fact, this church, for them, when the pastor is saying you, they're like, okay, now go for therapy as we pray. Because you see, man is in body, soul, and spirit. So if your body, the body is who we are here. So the spirit man is the person that gets born again inside you. But we have the soulish realm where we have emotions, where we have the soul, emotions. We have your will. So that's where trauma is deposited in the mind. Trauma is deposited there. So even when you pray to God, because there are all those rings, there will be a blockage in the soulish realm. So that's why people will tell you, oh, that person is a Christian. But I don't understand their Christianity. They have another dark side about them. Oh, that person is a Christian, but Christ is not manifested because the soulish realm has.
It is still very alive.
It has clouded everything that is supposed to appear as Christ in you. So that's where therapy is so important. You go, you deal with the childhood, you even dealing with the neurodivergency as a parent. If you've had trauma, you're going to interpret it very differently. You'll be like, oh, the other auntie has bewitched me. They are against me. Now for me, these things. But it is not that. Yes, so we need to do a lot of work. Education has to be strength-based. What are the strengths of the child? What can they do? Because when we start from a place of, oh, the person cannot sing, the person cannot sit, the person cannot write, that means you can't do anything. But you're like, what can they do? Because even the story of Tempa Grandin, it was, she's a visual learner. God gave her a brain that takes pictures, so she can have a whole book in her head without knowing. So she didn't know she had that. So she was like an ostracized child, like this child that is always on swings, she's confused. So one time the French teacher comes and he's like, can you read this passage? So she started talking, no, like everything that is in the book. So he asked, did you read it before? So she was also confused. She's like, no, I did. So he's like, wow, this child has a gift. So that one thing that they discovered about Tempa Grandin was the game changer. Because you only need one thing about you that is really good and you know it, and you're affirmed for it, to change your world. So what is that one thing that the child is good at? So schools that are able to look at that. So the local curriculum, I'm glad we are making a lot of reforms with the curriculum. We have now a competence-based, but it does not address us who are neurodivergent. So can we also get to the level, the policymakers, can we also look at what can we do about the neurodivergence? I like the competence-based, but because they're very competent, you would find that they can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
Can we do something there? And then environments. Can we get clean rooms that are quiet? If the child is having a meltdown, how is it handled? You know, you want a school where the teachers have been oriented. Every time a parent brings me a child, I make sure I visit that school. And I'm very intentional. Though some schools have been, no, we don't. But I make sure that I visit the school. I will ask them, can I meet the teachers? And I take them through the talk of neurodivergency, how to help the children, how to be, you know, more intentional about them. Then also to tell the parent, this environment may not work for you. There are 50 kids in the class. Yours will not survive here. And that is a conversation some parents are not ready to, because they want the identity of, I'm going to this school, I have these friends.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're done? Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about curriculum and the education path. I really look forward to a time where these conversations are more recurrent, than not. Spaces like YouTube, and you guys, you're going to come back. I am assuring you. You're going to come back because I think there are so many parents who are going to benefit from this conversation. And I want you in closing to kind of share your final words to a mom, a dad that might be watching. You said something before we came on the air about moms kind of championing this journey and the role that mothers play, but also let's talk about the role that fathers play. What's the role of a dad? It may not be happening, but what's the ideal role of a father in this situation? Mothers, generally, women, we're going to look for solutions. If they tell you there's a braider in Kabera Maido, braids your hair and it lasts for 3 months, you will go to Kabera Maido. It's true. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean.
Yes, we'll go to length.
Let's talk about the role, and then just encourage a mom or dad who is watching and they realize that their child is neurodivergent. There's a lot of good that can come out of this situation. In closing, start with you, Patricia, and then end with Jenny.
Yeah, actually, I like the way you speak.
Really?
So I really like the fact that you're coming after me. I think, first of all, just like we mentioned earlier, that traumas you might have, I think I emphasize a lot about the carers and parents and stuff, because I have first-hand knowledge on how important it is to get that out of the way so that you can then step into your role as a parent to this child. And I truly, truly hope and pray that moving forward, we have stronger marriages, families that are able to walk this journey together. Fathers are extremely essential in this journey. And I know that with some gentlemen, they feel overwhelmed. Men don't process the way that we do. Just like you've mentioned, mothers will go up to Kabaramaido to do something, and sometimes fathers will freeze. But it doesn't mean that they don't care. It doesn't mean that they don't care. Sometimes they just need to be told what to do. This is something that's so foreign to them. They, unlike the mothers who are proactive and they're like, okay, now let me just do research and let me study. Sometimes fathers just need some patience and some grace, and then they step into their role. If for nothing, it is just to hold you as a mother, as you do all this championing. At least let there be somebody who holds you, and that is such a huge contribution to the entire journey. So I really, 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 really applaud fathers who have held space for their wives and for the mothers of their children and for their children, and walked with them in this journey, as well as the single fathers who have had to walk this journey on their own. I see them and I really, really applaud them. And I encourage even those who may have maybe walked away from the
family,
responsibility, the family. So there is so much to gain from embracing difficulty. There is so much to gain from embracing difficulty, and you will not know until you've gone through it.
Yeah.
So don't run away from
Refinement by
it.
fire.
Don't run away from it. Yeah. So even the fathers who may in the past have walked away from their families or from their children, please, you can always go back. You remain a father. Generally speaking, mine is to encourage families. I bless the Lord. It sounds so, that I thank God for my son's, diagnosis. It sounds selfish. And maybe to a degree it is. But when I think about the person I am now and the person I was before, that boy has contributed so much in improving who I am today. And I just thank God so much for him. And it's only because of embracing the difficulty and going through uncertainty and understanding, just like you said, that his life is an entire journey of different cycles. We went through being a toddler, now we're entering being a teenager, and it's a challenge. And it humbles you, because sometimes you think you've figured it out, and then something happens and you're like, hey, there's still a lot more to learn. And the reason I'm bringing this out is because it's also reflected in other things we go through in life, whether it's in a business or in mothering your other children or in your marriage, or even in friendship, anything that you do that is a purpose, that is a calling. You will go through difficulty, but your character will be sharpened, you'll be trained, you'll be qualified. You don't enter, not all the time that you enter into your calling and your purpose when you already know what to do. We also learn daily, but you don't give up, you don't walk away, you keep going, you keep, fighting the good fight, and you pay attention. You pay attention and you remain humble. Because because only in humility will you be able to accept the wisdom of others and the need to change whenever you need to. So that's
so powerful.
Very
Thank
powerful.
you. Jennifer, in your closing, I also want you to address the stigma, the people who are ignorant about neurodivergence and how they respond. Because when we are ignorant about things, sometimes we respond in ignorance, and in shameful ways. Just draw people back to being human. And when someone is different from you, it doesn't mean that they are bad. It doesn't mean that they are strange. It just means that they are different. So I want to address
but also
that.
actually, all of us have disorders. All of us. If you sit down with even those that are saying I'm neurotypical, they all have disorders. So as you're pointing one finger, you're pointing at you. So the thing is, humanity, especially in Africa here, we have what we call Ubuntu. That is what makes us African. That's why we are very different. That's why I'm so amazed that even when other races are looking for healing, they come to Africa. They're not coming for the environment. We are the environment. We have Ubuntu. We have healing. We care for each other. When you see these children, they're just normal. They have potential. They're such a blessing. I don't know even how to say it, but it amazes me every day. The most kind person I've ever met is my son. Even when I gave birth to the baby, he's the one who carried the baby. To date, that child still wants to be carried. Even when we go to a public place, children will come. All the schools he's been, they still call me. They're like, Mommy, Christian, can you bring Christian back? The children are asking, where is Christian? So even family members, the times we've had family gatherings, you see children with him, they want to be carried because they have that gentle spirit. So there's something good about everybody. Let us embrace each other. And diversity is our strength. That is one. So let us not, if you don't know something, ask. The internet, instead of being on TikTok and you're watching all these things, look for knowledge. Find out, why is this person like this? How should I help? How should I be present for this person? Remember, we say in Africa that a child is raised by a village. So who is in this village? If we are saying that one, maybe they have demons, maybe they are cursed. We are not helping the situation at all. But I also wanted to say something about fathers. Fathers are very, very important in the journey. So whereas we are very good at looking for help in Karamaido, in Kiliandongo, where we also become very emotional.
Yeah.
The discipline that my child has is a result of the corrective actions of the dad.
Wow.
Yeah. And even in Temple Grandin's book, they talk about disciplining, because something, the child is neurodivergent, they shouldn't be disciplined, or they can't even get away with anything, or they can't even abuse or spit. You know, at the end of the day, one of the things that I have done is to treat him as normal. You must, adhere to standard behavior practices. So the dad has been very, very instrumental, because men don't have emotions and then also at a certain stage, like in adolescence, you would say something and he doesn't respond, but the dad just appears and somebody knows it is bedtime, daddy has come, So fathers, in as much as you may not be like handy, but the disciplinary role, the identity bit, the identity bit, because fathers are so important in giving children identity. And there are certain stages, regardless of whether the child is neurotypical or neurodivergent, where the father is the most important person. Ages 3 to 5, humans are sexual. You see the child attracted to the parent of the opposite sex. So the dad, the girl needs you. You are the first parental figure to give that sexual safety. Like I can be safe with a person of the opposite sex. If you're not there, a shamba boy will do it. And it can end up in a very different place. Ages 13 to 23, children return back to the dad. All mothers know that teenagers, you can say something and they're looking at the dad just appears in a second. And people back in order, they're like,
Daddy.
Yeah, so even in cases that I see with neurotypicals whose fathers are not hands-on, I call the dad. I'm like, Daddy, come, let's have a chat. And the moment the daddy talks, the seizures go, the stomach pain goes, the headaches, because daddy is saying something. So daddy is so important, and we need you in the journey. Do not shy away. She talked about purposeful living. We are here for a purpose. God has created us for a purpose. We are only stewards. I'm a steward. And if you're thinking about provision, you only need to be a steward. God will provide.
That's it.
You only have to trust him. You've been through this journey.
Yeah.
The monies that are needed for the diets, for the what, it's a walk of faith, and you need to partner with God. You're like, God, here I am. You gave me this. I need. And I've seen that work for me. Yes, so do not despair. Keep going. But I'll go back to my message. Early diagnosis. Early interventions, better outcomes. Do not sit around. Do not wallow in pain. Do not be in denial. You've seen our faces. Our numbers will be there. If you think that, I'm in denial and I need help, come speak to us. Let us walk the journey together. There's a whole community she has created. There's a lot out there. Be encouraged. Stay focused. Your child has potential that you've never even tapped in or known, The world is waiting for that child because God has a purpose for them.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Thank you, ladies. I started by saying that you are both courageous for sharing. It does take courage for you to share something that could have crushed you, something that could have overwhelmed you, or even brought you shame. And for you to rise above all of that and say, no, I will not be held back. And I'm going to take a step further and even tell other people about my journey. I think that's commendable. So take your flowers.
Thank you.
Take your flowers. And like I said, they will be back because this conversation must continue happening. We must continue to raise awareness, not just in the Neurodivergence Celebration Week, but throughout the year, because there are many mothers and fathers who are coming into this reality. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it. So like they both said, I think you're both available for help.
Sure.
Clinical psychologist, she's an advocate as well. Autism Awareness Association. So there are communities, there's support, there's help. If you're looking for a starting point at the very least, we're going to put their numbers in our description box, or you can always reach out to ICFC and ask for their contacts. Thank you for watching. I really do wish you a wonderful week, and yeah, educate yourself. Please be knowledgeable about neurodivergence, and yeah, be better for it. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and stay well. Until next week, we'll see you again. Bye-bye.